Okay, most Mexican Americans, I would say most Mexicans here are not part of this movement.
That's right. They're not.
They disavow anyone, at least the people in my circle, anyone that comes in to participate in the destruction. Very, very, very few people sympathize with these Mexicans, Americans, or Mexicans that cross the border to do this. They're not a lot. They're not big in number, but that tells me that since they come from diverse countries, they come from diverse political backgrounds. They come from diverse ethnic backgrounds.
And also Canada.
So
I said Canada.
What unites them then, it's an ideology.
Right.
It's an ideology. So they're pulling from these people all over the world that believe like them, that have been groomed for this moment and future moments. And which explains why all of a sudden people who we don't even know, never been interested in politics, never served in government or in the military, how do these people get elected? Because they come from across borders. They get funded by, let's say, for example, Soros has funded many, many people like that. They have no ties to America. They come live here, and all of a sudden they decide to run for office. Well, guess what? You just don't decide to run for office out of the blue. So they are implants, and they have been groomed for this season to destroy.
Yeah.
And they thought the plan was for later on. I think that they had a plan, and it was for later on. But since Hillary lost, they moved the plan forward. They accelerated their plan. And what we have now is the convergence of all these malignant plans, to include COVID. How is it that it's like the perfect storm? They are creating, whoever they are, is the people who are funding and who believe this and the leadership. And it's obvious. I don't have any evidence, but the news people, the broadcasters like Fox News and Breitbart and other alternative, civilian reporting, what we see on the streets, unedited and raw footage, tells a very, very different story from other broadcasters. And what we're seeing is a well-crafted plan. And in Austin, don't mess with Texas. In Austin, they were still somewhat successful, but not very successful. And you know why? Because the militia in Texas mobilized quickly and put out the fire. So Antifa, because it was Antifa, the one doing the stuff in Austin, Antifa recognized that, it can get ugly very quickly because the presence of the militia in Texas. So they backed down. And they didn't get to destroy as much as perhaps they wanted to, or demonstrate as much as they wanted to. That I don't know. But I thank God, and I thank the Texas militia for their quick response to those shenanigans that were about to happen. And Texas was very successful in keeping the outburst and the destruction to a minimum.
Minnie, I also want to tell you this too. You might not be aware of it, but in Fort Worth, Black Lives Matter came in there back in July. I reported this, or it was in June. Anyway, either June or July 7th. They met with the VFW people who actually have armored tanks, okay, with the American Legion organization. These are federal organizations. They have federal armament, and the Black Lives Matter Antifa were faced with an M1 tank, a World War II Sherman tank, and a Panther tank with RPGs on top of it, hooked up with armament and Gatling guns, and they left. And no report about this whatsoever. And I had the pictures to prove it in front of at Walgreens down in Fort Worth, Texas. I have pictures to prove it, and they left, and no news coverage mentioned this at all. None of them, not even Fox's, none of them mentioned it. They didn't want to touch the 10-foot pole, but we posted pictures up because my honor guard commander, Mr. Jim Weaver, who's in charge of the whole entire VFW organization as well as the American Legion organization. He's a representative of this. It's like Roger Penske took over the IndyCar series. Well, Jim Weaver took over the VFW organization as well as the American Legion organization, and he is he's an Army Brigade Ranger. You don't mess with him. So this guy was in Vietnam. He took 8 years doing duty, his job, and he said this war, we could have won this war within 2 weeks. We could have won Vietnam within 2 weeks if we had Barry Goldwater. We could have ended this war. It was over tariff and trade. Remember that. It was over tariff and trade. That's what we're facing right now with China. That's what we're facing right now. It's the same thing. We can actually take China out within 10 days if we have the right people in charge of the military. That's why we need to drain the swamp of the State Department. We have to do this. This is one thing that Donald Trump said he was going to do. And anybody protesting, want to destroy property, it's a federal crime. 10 years in jail for pointing down federal statues. Now we need to do this in Portland because that's what we need to do right now. We got to have this in Portland. But the problem is though, with the governor in Texas mandated that you can actually have militia, you can have the VFW out there with armor vehicles for Antifa, Black Lives Matter, and they'll leave. And that's exactly what they did in Austin, Texas again. And that's why you had a militia out there. Again, their governor did the right thing, calling them out. The National Guard, the militia, the VFW, the American Legion, they called them out. They did the right thing, again, in Austin, Texas. But there's no mention of this in any news reports at all whatsoever. I don't know. I don't understand it. Go ahead.
It's hard to understand how each state is involved. I think there is, if a state permits it, there's a spirit of permissiveness or an attitude of permissiveness. If a state says, oh, you can come in and break down the whole thing because we believe, we affirm you, da, 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 da. Well, what are the states, which states are doing that? They are the Democrat states.
There are 9 states. Only 9 states right now. It's only 9. 9 states. There's Michigan. I'm going to break down the list for you. There's Chicago, Illinois, New York City, New York State. There's Portland, Oregon, Seattle. There's California. That's in San Francisco, Los Angeles area. Then you have Baltimore. Then you have Minnesota. You have also Boston, Massachusetts, and you also have Rhode Island. There you go. On this 9. Is that right?
Well, if you invite a thief into your house and knowing that the thief is you know that you're going to get slammed. You know that you're going to get robbed. So if you invite by a direct invitation or by being passive, as in your governmental responsibilities, and then you're going to know that they're safe to demonstrate there. They're safe to burn down there. They're safe to burn businesses there. And unfortunately, when it gets out of hand, there is people who get killed, like the guy, this Jay. I can't remember his last name, but there will be special tweets. Mm-hmm.
It's terrorists, exactly. The terrorists got the police took out the bad guy. The good guys won, the bad guy lost.
Yeah. So now we have it that criminals are treated like heroes, and good citizens, responsible people are treating like the criminals.
Yeah, you know why? The NBA's doing that. The NBA, the National Basketball League, these thugs who are playing basketball, half of them were believe it or not, do you know 90% of the basketball players in the NBA, 90% of them were formal gang members.
Well, there you have it. Thugs. And
Thugs.
You elevate a thug. It's just, this is
Thugs.
Criminal mentality. But
Thugs.
let me break this down, if I may. And it reminds me of the cartoons. You remember in the cartoons, Batman and Robin, and they go after the bad guy.
Absolutely.
So eventually, during the reading the comic or during a movie about the comics, the criminal element becomes arises, surpasses truth and righteousness and justice, and they become the leaders, the elected officials, and the whatever. So crime takes somehow crime gets elevated, and they have the upper hand. So right now, what we have globally is the upper hand of the thuggery in the world, running the world. For example, the comment that at the UN, Nikki Haley at one point before she left the UN as ambassador of America for the UN, she said it was being run by a circle of thuggery, something like that, to that effect. So basically, she's saying that what used to be legitimate government or national entities to help resolve the problems of the world were now in hands of those very same countries and actors that made and created the problem.
Right.
So that's why our president has withdrawn the United States, not only from the Human Rights Council, but from other councils as well, from the UN. It says, not only do they not pay the bill, America was paying the bill, but America was paying the bill so they can trash America and trash Israel. So what we're seeing, again, is the ascendancy of the thugs. The thugs are running the world. Look at Venezuela. Venezuela continues to be under the oppressive hands of Maduro, and with no relief in sight, no end in sight. And
Vietnam too now. Here we are in Vietnam too. Same thing, same situation. Exactly the same thing in Vietnam too as well. It's crazy.
It is. And who would have thought that 2020, we've been noticing this for years, but really 2020 has exposed all these things. The president, little by little, has exposed the issues, who he's wrestling against. And he's wrestling against these crime circuits.
Yep.
And so we have to make sure that he's protected and with our prayers, but not only with our prayers, but with our votes, and that we try to keep preserve America, or we won't have in America. At least we won't have in America the way we have known it. So we have to vote. We have to get the people out to vote. The silent majority
who are registered to vote, legal voters. I want to make this point. Legal voters, people who have previously voted, who are registered voters, or the first time voting. Well, actually, if you want to register to vote, it's already too late. By the way, it's already too late. You had to register for this election back in June, by the way, because you have to do 90 days, and there's not enough time. Don't have 90 days because we're in September now. Because October, November, that's 2 months. So there you go. You should have done it back in June or July to register to vote or change your address if you moved, or you go to your voting booth and you register that way. But you can always go to your voting booth if you say you're moving right now. Say people who are processing of moving, relocating, you have to forward your address right now to make sure your ballot comes in the mail. You have to do that if you're planning on moving now. That way your ballot will come in the mail. It'll be forwarded to your address. So make sure you do that. Otherwise your ballot won't come in, and it will be destroyed, or someone else will get it. So there you go. There's that possibility. I'm telling you, folks. No other new. I care. All lives matter, and I really do care. So I'm emphasizing this is a civic concern issue that we have to bring up. You're right. Go ahead.
Yes. Well, sorry, I got distracted here. All lives matter. You know, humanity is created in the image of God, and it's the intention of the Creator that we reflect His glory, that reflect virtue to Him and one to another. So all lives matter. If Black Lives Matter was truly concerned about Black lives, they would not partner with Planned Parenthood. They would not, because Planned Parenthood's initial objectives and continuing objectives is to destroy the unborn. And who gets targeted the most? The African Americans and the Hispanics. And so Black Lives Matter. If you're listening, you should turn, wake up. For those of you who are truly concerned about Black lives, and you should start sabotaging and protesting Planned Parenthood, because these are your brothers and your sisters and your future, your youth, your talent. This is your future. And if you allow an organization to profit from the death of your children, what do you have left? If you don't have a future, what do you have left?
Yeah, exactly.
And that is true for every race. That is true for all of us.
Yep.
Hispanic, white, Asian. That's true for all of us. If we continue to kill, and let me tell you this: I'm a pro-life activist, and
yes,
I've been
you are
for years and years and years. Oh my God, I've been fighting this for years before it was popular, but I'm glad it's popular now. It doesn't matter. But I signed up with the original task force back in the 90s, sometime in the 90s. I have a certificate to just prove it, to show it. But
you there? Now, lose her?
Our children. America will not have people in 20 years because it will go into a spiral effect. There won't be children. There won't be, the pool of leaders, the pool of prophets, the pool of engineers, of doctors, of teachers, of firemen. We're killing the pool. We're killing the future of America. When we're allowing Planned Parenthood to do it. See, what they do is they say, oh, it's your right. Well, it's everyone's right, because it's not, when you, as a woman, I have children. It's not just your body; it's the body of another human being. It's not just your body. There's 2 or 3 people in there. You have twins or triplets or whatever. So it's not the platform or how they couch the argument, which is a right to this, a right to that. Everybody has a right to breathe, but what about, it's more than it's not about a right. More than a right, the fundamental issue is, and here it goes. Yes, we all have a right to life because it's given by God, but we also have a right to exist.
Accept it, yeah.
We have a right to develop, to have choices, to have liberty, to have an education, to participate, to create. We are participants with the Creator. So when you take that life away, when you snub that little life away, you're not just taking life away. You're taking the whole picture of creation. What could that child could have done? A doctor, a nurse, a fireman, hey, even a criminal, a pastor. And their energy and life and their contributions to society. So we're killing, America's killing itself. And then we have the audacious, immoral, and unethical behavior to pay other nations for them to abort their kids. So it's highly immoral, unethical. It's wrong on every single angle that you can think of.
Mm-hmm.
It's wrong. It's wrong. So what do we do from now? What do we do from here? We have to elect people with a track record and hold them accountable to say that, hey, if you pro-life, you better be pro-life for the rest of your life, and make sure that when you get elected, either as a congressman or a senator, first thing you're gonna do is go after that Planned Parenthood thing. If I ever get elected, and I say it right here, if I ever run again for office, and I might, and I ever get elected, my first bill will be a bill to legislate and defund Planned Parenthood and whatever else I can do legally to go after Planned Parenthood.
Absolutely. You are...
As an elected official.
I want to tell you something.
So that should be the pledge. People say, oh, the first thing I'm going to do is jobs, which is great. The first thing I'm going to do is this and that. They come with a whole agenda. But the first thing we should do is love, because unless we stop the bleed right off the gate, it will continue to gain strength. Yeah. That's why it's so difficult to unfund it. That is to uproot it. Because it has many dimensions. It has political dimensions, financial dimensions, moral dimensions or not. And more importantly, it has spiritual roots. You cannot see the spiritual world, but you sure can feel it, and you can see the results and the consequences that for every evil action we take consistently and collectively, you see the consequences. So when we elect our future I don't know if you know this, but I went to bat for Brett Kavanaugh when his hearing, and I was in D.C. and I helped out DreamWorks, and we almost got lynched.
Yeah, you did. I remember that.
Yes, we almost got lynched, and the horde yelling and screaming inside the buildings, inside congressional buildings, and it felt as if, I don't know, I was in a horror movie, because the yelling, like, this kind of voice tone and choices of words and demeanor could have scared the bravest soldiers out of there, but we held our ground. And the only reason we held the ground is because I believe Jesus was there with us in the midst of us. Only God, the presence of the Lord and the holy angels and the Holy Spirit, they were the ones who held the horde back, and they were the ones who strengthened us to keep at it, to keep lobbying, to go visit every congressman, every senator, to go past in between these hordes and not be afraid. We should not be afraid of what is coming. We should not be afraid of war. We should not be afraid. We should know how to hide in the presence of God through prayer, through meditation, through the reading of the word. We should not be afraid, because believe me, I'm going to tell you this. I am of the people who believe that not just America, but we're going to go through some serious stuff in the next 2 years. We are going to go through some very, very serious, perfect storm. And we have to not only survive it, but we have to trust God, and we have to prepare for it. Yeah. So if you have extra money, go ahead and buy yourself extra water, extra food, extra meds. Because there's just so many things that are going that we will not have control of, and they will be global. So, folks, take care of yourselves. Take care of your families and your pets. If you have a pet, I have a cat. And as I was prepping, I was just buying extra water, extra cans of food, just in case we have to do, shelter in place. And my daughter says, "Mom, you forgot to buy extra sand and extra cat food for the cat." And I said, "Oh my God!" And so I take care of my father. He's a senior citizen, and he needs to be looked after. So that's why I'm here in Texas. I moved from Virginia to Texas to take care of my family.
That's cool.
So this takes my dad. So this is what really matters: the family. In the end, your family and your pets and your community is what matters.
Yeah.
And the Lord, of course, God. So be wise. Be wise. You might have a job today. You might not have one tomorrow because, I don't know, Antifa or Black Lives Matter showed up and burned down your neighborhood. I'm not saying they're doing that. I'm just saying you never know. Or a meteorite, an asteroid from heaven falls and take down a community like they did years and years ago in Siberia, Russia.
Right.
You just never know what's going to happen. An earthquake. Look, there was a 7.0 in Chile like 4 days ago.
Yeah, I know. I saw that.
Right, and it's in its damage. This hurricane that hit Louisiana and Texas, flooding, water all over the place. And there's a typhoon like there has never in history been in the Pacific, and it's heading towards the Philippines.
Oh, no.
And it is massive. It's huge as Katrina, but the winds are also higher than what was Katrina.
Right. And the thing about the typhoons, the speed is between 140 and 150 miles an hour for typhoon category 3 or 4. So there you go. And for 5, it's 210 miles an hour for a typhoon. By the way, I know that because I took a weather course from the Weather Channel, so that's why I know my weather. I know about also category 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 for tornadoes too as well. There's 4 categories of a tornado, and actually a 5. There's 5. There's one for category 1, stage 4. There's a stage 5. There's a stage 3, and there's a stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, and a stage 5 for tornadoes. That's what they have. So it's one speed of a category 5 tornado is Cat 5 tornado is has over 200 miles an hour winds. Typhoon category 5 typhoon is 200 mile an hour winds. So we're going to take a look at this thing too as well. We're going to monitor this very closely. We have this network has friends in the Philippines. By the way, we have lots of friends, Americans in the Philippines. This network has, so we know what we are very concerned because again, they're allies, they're friends of ours. Just like Chile, we have friends in Chile too as well. We have friends in Guam. By the way, we have United States as part of Guam. Just like we have friends out of Canada, the next neighbor. Just like we have friends down in Mexico. We have friends. We have friends in Costa Rica. We have people from Norwegians. We have people from the Netherlands. We have people from Ireland. We have people from New Zealand, Australia, Ireland, the UK, all Europe. We have friends all around. We have at least 40 different countries. We have friends from 40 different countries. 40 different countries. We have people around who like this network. 40 different countries who like what we're doing. 40 different countries, by the way. 40.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And they're all, they can look at them all on social media. You can, look at my Twitter. You can look at Facebook. You can see what we have. We got people from Russia. We got people from Ukraine tuning into this network all the time. Every time we have a guest on, they love it. They tune in because we don't attack our guests. We don't do that here. We talk about the issues that matter, that affects everybody. And I want to ask you this question, by the way, Maria. Sorry, no, not Maria, but meaning, I want to ask you this question. I want to ask you this question right now. What would you say to a woman who's 23 or 24 years of age who is thinking about getting an abortion? What do you say to that person? What would you say to her?
As a mother and as a woman, I would say, please, detente. Stop and give yourself some time. Give yourself time to think it over. Give yourself, think about what will your life be having someone to care for in a good way. Oh my, it gives you purpose. A child will change your view quicker than what you can think, because maternal love will take over. When someone is more important than your pressing needs, there's a transformation that happens when one becomes a mother. It's not longer about me, but now the child. So the perspective changes, and the perspective will change, and you will, hey, I of course I had I went back to school to get my master's when my daughter was 8 and my twin sons were 4, and I went to school. I went to get my MDiv to seminary, and what I would do is I would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and to pre-start dinner and get their breakfast items ready and study, do my homework, and then when they wake them up at 6:30, get them ready for school, take them to school, come back, finish what I was doing. So when I came back from school, there would be dinner, because there was days when I was a teacher. So I had to get the kids to school. I had to go to school myself because I was a teacher. So I taught part-time. Mm-hmm. And then I will go get the kids from school, take them home, help them do with their homework. And then at 5, I would leave for my class, because my class started at 7 at night. But then my husband would come home and I leave for school. And then I had another part-time job on the weekends, and I was a plant protection. I worked for Lockheed, and I protected the stealth bombers. I don't know for what, but that was my job. So I created a schedule around the children. So I still met my goals and graduated with a master's in divinity in '99, and then I went back for the doctorate, but they were already gone, already adults. So here I am. I'm going to give you my age. I'm 58, and I have been able to accomplish my academic goals and mostly my professional goals. And there is time for that. But, I wish, my first child was born when I was in active duty in the Air Force. And I wish I would have been there for my daughter more. And when I say I wish I had done that more, it's because, I was Air Force.
Right.
I was stationed at Peace Air Force Base, which was an active nuclear base, which means my hours were long, and she had to be in the babysitter with grandma. Right. So I missed out a lot because of my career. I chose my career. I was active duty Air Force. Many women do that. That's a call. But as a mother, I wish I should have been there when she said her first word. I missed that. I wish I should have been there when she took her first step. I missed that. There are certain things that I missed, and I cannot take that time back. It is what it is. So there's great sacrifices for our military. I wish people realize the sacrifice that our military people, not only the active duty person does, like I was and my husband was, but the ones that the family makes, the grandmas that have to babysit, or the neighbors that will say, hey, I'll babysit for one day, or the child care centers, So I tell a young person to think about the positive things, the good things of raising a child, that you can say, hey, this is my baby. It's not going to be easy. I'm not going to tell you it's going to be easy, but today they have many, the government gives you milk for your baby, diapers for your babies. There's other venues of support that were not there when Planned Parenthood first came on the scene.
Right.
But now there are support. So you don't have to do this. You don't have to abort your baby. Give your baby a chance.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're taking away a human life is what you're doing. You're taking away a human life. It's not a fetus. It's a human life. People think, oh, it's a fetus. No, it's a human life.
Right. Oh, they'll call it. They'll change the verbiage to a cluster of cells to take away the emotional and moral qualification that goes with that. So they try to make it a lot easier, as if no, it's not easier. But they, it's just evil. Evil knows a good thing about being evil because of evil.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's a shame. It really is sad. But anyway, doing a recap